Hello and welcome to this new video on the Vijnana Bhairava tantra. Today we shall start in the tantra a series of practices about space and emptiness from 43 to verse 51. So today we will see first three of those verses. First, verse 43 in Sanskrit. Om nijadehe sarvadikkaṃ yugapad bhāvayed viyat nirvikalpamanās tasya viyat sarvam pravartate. So, one should evoke space in one's body. One should evoke space or the sky within one's body in all directions and all at once. Yugapad. Nirvikalpamanās. Being with undivided attention for that one, tasya, viyat sarvam pravartate. Space will invade everything, everywhere. Space will pravartate, will be put into motion. This is a little bit paradoxical because, and the commentary does not explain that, because on that verse, Shivopadhyaya, the most recent commentator in Sanskrit, does not say much. But this is a little paradoxical because space does not move. According to the traditional definitions, space or sky, viyat, is what gives place to the other four great elements: earth, water, fire, air. It is what gives space, avakasha. So it does not move, and it is a little bit paradoxical to say that it starts moving, because this is the literal meaning of pravartate, pravritti, vritti, the operations, the movement, the turning movements, vartana, like a whirlpool, pravartate, dharma chakra pravartana, the putting into motion of the wheel of the teachings. This is a traditional Buddhist expression for to mean the starting of the teachings of the Dharma, of the Buddhist teachings by the Buddha, the awakened one. So, pravartate means that space, which is usually always there, everywhere, but without being felt, a dead space, as it were, now becomes alive. Why does it become alive? Because it is evoked. You put your attention into it. Bhāvayet. You feel space. You feel space. You put all your attention into that feeling of space, which is sarvadikkaṃ, in all directions at once, not feeling space above or below, in front or behind, but feeling space, the whole of it, all at once, in all directions, sarvatah samantat, in all directions, paritaḥ, all at once, and yugapad, which means the same thing but from the point of view of action and therefore time. And you don't start by the space of the head and then the space of the legs or then the space of the shoulders and so on, but all at once, without sequence, without choosing one place and then going to another. It's not like in the practices, for instance, that you can find in the protocols of yoga nidra, where you start with a place of the body and then you shift your attention place after place. Here it's all at once, so there is no sequence, there is no krama, it's yugapad, it's akrama, all at once. And therefore, your attention does not choose. Your attention, manas, here manas, usually translated by mind, rather means attention, like cetana or something like that. Attention. Your attention does not choose. It does not choose, and therefore it does not choose that place first, then this place, etc. Therefore, it is not excluding anything. Because when you choose to look at something, to hear at something, to pay attention to something, you exclude, you forget the rest for the time being. When I choose to see that tree, my attention excludes, therefore, therefrom, all the other elements of the landscape. So now that my attention evokes the feeling of space everywhere, all at once, without choosing, my attention is no longer divided, no longer fragmented, scattered. It is one, it is whole. And that attention, which is no longer fragmented, divided, is awareness, pure consciousness, chit, chiti, chaitanya, sambiti, sambit. And that is none other than Paramakasha, the supreme space, which is Chirakasha, the space of consciousness, which is our own real nature, our real self, the divine self, the divine, the goal, and the mean as well. It is the space everywhere, everything is in space, but usually we overlook that fact. We overlook that fact, what is already the case. Everything, all bodies are in space because they have extension, and extension means they take some place. They have some width, length, depth. So they extend into space. And just the same, everything appears, shines, manifests as a manifestation of consciousness. Consciousness is that manifestation, shining. The lightning of everything is the lightning that we call consciousness. It's the same thing. But usually we overlook that fact. We are paying attention only to the content of consciousness, of experience, not to experience itself, sanvin matra, anubhav matra. We don't pay attention to the light by which we see everything, and which is everything. Everything is light. everything is lightening up. Everything is that shining, that lightning, that yes, that shining, which is consciousness. Consciousness in Sanskrit is also prakasha, but prakasha means shining as well. So it's the shining by which everything shines, and everything is that light shining as this and that, as if I were I was an infinite light with the capacity for infinite shining, infinite manifestation. Shining is manifestation. Self-shining is self-manifestation. Everything is self-shining out of nothing, out of oneself, without any other cause than oneself. And that self is the space of consciousness. So space is an excellent analogy for consciousness, except that space is not aware, of course. Space contains everything, but space is not aware of anything. Whereas consciousness is supremely aware, is sensitivity that manifests in thoughts, judgments, reactions, decisions, desires, emotions, and so on, for the better and the worse. But this is the power of consciousness that is consciousness and that space does not have. And Kashmir Shaivism, that tradition, is stressing very much the difference between space and consciousness. That's why great masters of that tradition, like Abhinavgupta, do not use so much the metaphor of space. Not so much as in Vedanta or Mahayana Buddhism, etc. It's not so much stressed here for that reason. So here anyway, we evoke space like as if everything, every part of the body were somehow increasing in size, slowly, softly, as if the air inside was growing more and more, taking more and more space. And we feel the effect of that evocation, the effect of that feeling, of that paying attention to space rather than the contents of space. We do not pay so much attention to the feelings of the so-called limbs and fingers and head and stomach, etc., but rather we pay attention, we put the stress on the space in which all that is bathing, is merged like clouds in the sky. As if we were taking a bath of space, of felt space. So nirvikalpamanās means one whose attention is no more divided. No more divided, it's open. Open awareness. Open attention is pure awareness. Viyat sarvam pravartate. And so space becomes alive, pravartate. It's no more a dead nothing at the background of everything. It becomes alive. It's moving. It becomes like water. And your body, your sensations are felt like if there were things or plants moving in the water of the sea, moving along with the pulsation, with the breath of the movements of the sea. Nijadehe sarvadikkaṃ yugapad bhāvayed viyat. Evoking space. This is the simple practice of that verse 41. The two following verses, 44 and 45, are two variations of the same practice, but instead of evoking space all at once in all directions, we evoke space above and below and space in the middle. And those practices, they are not techniques in which you shall get a how to do process, a precise teaching. It's rather an invitation to explore by oneself, like an artist exploring, improvising a tune. You see, the people who transmitted those teachings, they probably were very highly educated. They were poets, they were artists, or they were at least people who highly appreciated those arts. So we should not see those practices as rough, squared techniques in a mechanistic way. No, those are suggestions, subtle. They are not telling you should do this and that like a recipe to get this and that effect. It's not mechanical like that. It's artistic. So they give you tricks, yes, yukti. But those should be understood in an aesthetic way, like poetry, like something to which we are invited, suggestions, not injunctions, not no, it's not a command here. And so when the space, say the space above, the space below, it is an invitation to explore. They are giving us hints just to wake up our own capacity to explore our own creativity in that realm of inner exploration of experience. That's it. So we should not feel constrained by those. We should appreciate, taste them like poetry more than like recipes or dry techniques. So the next verse, 44, is like that in Sanskrit. Om pṛṣṭaśūnyaṃ mūlaśūnyaṃ yugapad bhāvayed. So one should evoke simultaneously the emptiness, the space above the head and below the body, below the ground, as if you were floating and below the ground there is nothing. Śarīranirapekṣiṇyā śaktyā śūnyamanā bhavet. One through that power through that power of not depending any longer on the body, not being any longer restricted to the body. Anyway, not feeling any longer, not feeling dependent on the body. One shall become śūnyamanā, of empty mind, empty attention, that is open attention, open awareness, empty awareness, free awareness. Does not mean necessarily that there is no content, but rather that attention or awareness or gaze is no longer prisoner, slave to those contents. Things can come and go. Awareness remains open. It is no longer caught up with things. And Ananda connects that with with a quote, sarvamidam khalvidam brahma. All this is the absolute. In that emptiness, in that inner silence, in that inner feeling of translucency, transparency, everything is transparent. When the direct feeling, the direct intuition that everything is the absolute, Brahman, the ever-expanding one. And verse 45 looks very much like a variation of that same practice. Aparamaha Om pṛṣṭaśūnyaṃ mūlaśūnyaṃ. So it's the same beginning. Hṛcchūnyam bhāvayed sthiram. And you just add, one should as well evoke the space in the heart of the body, the space in the heart, continuously, in a clear and stable way, sthiram. Yugapan nirvikalpatvān, nirvikalpodayas tataḥ. Then, because one should evoke all that all at once, yugapan. And then, because one is without any division in awareness, in attention, not excluding anything, one shall then will happen the awakening that is without any division any longer, nirvikalpodayas, the awakening of undivided awareness, the awakening of nirvikalpasya chiddhamnaha, the realm of the luminous realm of consciousness, udayaha abhivyaktihi, the clear coming up, the clear manifestation, because again, consciousness awareness is always already there, because without awareness we are not aware of anything, so there would be no experience just. But now awakening means full opening of awareness, an awareness which is no longer contracted, divided, fragmented, but wide open. That's it. It is as simple as that. And then he says, Vasudevo apyaha. There is a quote by the son of Vasudeva. But what is strange is that Vasudeva is Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, but it's not a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It's a verse that says empty above, empty below, in between, emptiness without any support, without any reference point. The one who recognizes the three emptinesses is enjoying the dance of the yoginis, Kulanandana. He is enjoying everything. Kula means everything, and also the body, and the groups of yoginis, the energies sky-faring in the space, in the sky of awareness. And we have some nice, sorry, it's the next verse. But before that, we had some nice verses quoted from the Pṛṣṭaśūnyaṃ by Ananda, but it's not very important. So, enough for today. I hope it's clear. Just sit down comfortably, or even wherever and however you are, and you just evoke space. Feeling of space, as if your body was transparent. But that is what it is, actually. If I close the eyes and I feel, I explore, I scan with the light of my awareness, that so-called body, I find that there is much more space than content. It feels much more like clouds in the sky. It doesn't feel like it looks. The feeling, the inner first person feeling is very different from the outward objective appearance. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for your listening. Have a good day and see you for another video.